What's up? It is Matt Foster with the Crappie Blog, and today's guest is Eric Fine. Eric Fine with Cyclops Jigs. Eric, if you would tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Hey, my name is Eric Fine. I've basically been fishing since I was 3 years old. I love all the outdoors. Really got into crappie fishing maybe 15 years ago, and just I hired a few guides, try to make myself a little bit better, and I just really have a passion for crappie fishing and fish a few tournaments. And now I'm actually in the industry. I've developed a very unique fishing jig.
And that is exactly what we're here to talk about. So, if you would tell everybody about Cyclops Jigs,
Well,
what's the history of it, right? How did you get into what was the brainchild behind this of thinking, okay, this is different, right? That kind of
right,
what gets me going is thinking how did for instance, how did Einstein invent the light bulb? What gave him that idea, right?
I,
How did Eric Fine get the idea for Cyclops jigs?
you know how many people have been out fishing and say, "Hey, boy, wouldn't that be neat if they did this, or if I could come up with this or something?" And I, it was during COVID, and I was sick as a dog. I was laying on the couch, and I was actually watching Crappie Masters on TV, and this was a few years after LifeScope had came out, and the best tournament anglers in the country, they were just lining up with the microphone in their hand, and they said, "We saw the giants and we couldn't get them to bite." And two or three or four different fishermen said that, and it just clicked. And why it clicked for me, I don't know, but I just remembered what Jimmy Houston and Roland Martin and Bill Dance had said. Like I said, I've been fishing since I was 3 years old. So I was either fishing or casting in the front yard in a coffee can. And, and I thought, well, why don't we make a wounded bait presentation? And for some unknown reason, I decided, hey, let's put the eye on the bottom and put the bait on sideways. And so it will mimic a dying wounded bait.
Heck yeah. And it does, right? It does what it was designed to do.
Right. And
So continue on, man.
no, I mean I called a few people. I was like, hey, because when we were kids, we used to pour our own lead. We had the
Mhm.
little hand mold, and so I scattered around for a couple of weeks trying to figure out who could make me a little hand mold, and ran across Donnie Carter at Thump Crappie. He'd been an old friend of mine for a long time. He says, "Hey, number one, you need to go to the patent office. I have a patent attorney." And then number two, they'll hook you up with someone that can help you get your molds made and get production started. And the patent attorney, I'll never forget. She's an outdoor attorney, very good patent attorney. She's a bulldog, and she was sitting there on her little iPad, and she said, "Eric, what do you got?" Well, I had a picture of a 3 inch long thread fin shad, and I wanted the nose of my bait to look just like that threadfin shad, because Matt, I always kind of thought that a crappie fisherman was only using half of the bait that they were using. Usually it was just a round head. Maybe it had paint on it, maybe it didn't. So they were basically relying on the hair that they tied on it or another plastic. So I thought, hey, and I researched this. It took me a while to get the shad that I wanted, for her in the picture. And I showed it to her, and she's typing stuff in. And this is the first time I've ever patented anything. I'm just a dirt guy, ditch digger. Okay, pretty handy with a fishing pole. That's as far as my stuff goes. And she said, "What's next, Eric?" And I said, "I want to put the eye on the bottom." And you thought I had spilled her coffee. She looks up and she goes, "You're kidding me." And I said, "No, type it in." And it wasn't just a minute or two. And she says, "Eric, there has never been a design patent on anything like that ever in the world." And so she typed it in and she said, well, what do you want to call it? And I thought, well, it's a one-eyed jig. Let's call it the Cyclops. And she typed it in. Everything's legit. We talk every other month or so, make sure everything's good with the patent. And and then we just started production. I've made some horrible mistakes. Trying in the in business, you can overthink something. You can think something to death. Okay, if I would have thought and thought and thought of, okay, what colors, what size hooks, what packaging, all that stuff, it would have never worked. I went to the patent office, got some molds made, and started. Now I've changed the design a little bit, uh, which doesn't the design patent is still solid, but about a year into it, Matt, I this is how ignorant I am. Okay, I always thought that a mustad hook was a mustad hook. Well, I've learned that Mustad makes a 3-cent hook, which is a great hook. They've caught 40-pound flatheads on that hook
Right.
on a Cyclops jig, and 15-pound stripers. But Mustad makes a needle point hook, which is the best steel and the sharpest hook in the industry, and it is 10 cents. They're 10 cents. So I started I wanted to roll the dice, Matt. I wanted to roll the dice to see if crappie fishermen would want a quality jig head that would be hard to match, because there are people that want them, but they would have to make them themselves. They just, for the most part, don't get me wrong, there are great hooks out there. But I wanted to try to set myself apart and just roll the dice and really get a good quality jig head, because most people are live scoping now, and a lot of people are looking for the biggest fish in the lake. So if you stick one of those big fish, you want the Cyclops, you want that needle point in the top of their head, and where the head goes, the tail follows. So
So what's kind
that's
of crazy, you kind of hit on it a little bit, but crappie fishermen are so used to paying, I don't know, $2 for a pack of 10 jig heads, right? Or $3 for a pack of whatever it is. All right. Like,
yes,
get the cheapest you can and they'll be all right.
yes,
But what we found using the more and more we're using forward facing sonar is you find that one fish tournament fishing, or hey, I've only got so long to fish, I'm off work for the day, whatever it may be. It's summertime, I'm getting out here from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock before the jet skis get out here,
yeah,
and I'm got to try to catch these fish, right? You're not going to want to pitch something down that has a little bitty light wire hook that you got to worry about maybe breaking or straightening or anything like that. When you drop that down, you have to have that confidence. And so the bass guys all along have, I mean, they don't, there's guys that bass fish that they will not balk 1 second at paying. Well, look at some of what are those
the glide baits.
glide baits,
Yeah,
some of them are $100, $200, $300 a
yes, sir.
piece. So
Yes,
it's like, I feel like the crappie industry is right there, like ready. Like the guys are seeing it now and are like, okay, let's pay a little bit more to get a little bit better quality. And we may not, because man, when I first started years ago, spider rigging, right?
hmm,
I had tackle boxes full of them gold jig heads, gold hooks.
yeah,
You know what they happened after a year of taking them out and
hmm,
everything else? They rusted through, or they'd get that, and it's gosh dang, had I spent a little bit more, got a little higher quality. It's one of those things. We're so accustomed to paying less for the lower quality stuff when if you pay just a little bit more, it's that old saying, buy once, cry once, right? but yeah, so I guess without the folks that are watching and not listening, this is going to be on Spotify as well as YouTube and several other channels too. But show them what that Cyclops looks like.
you bet. So keep in mind that the Cyclops, I I show people this, and listen, I thread every I like a I like a profile bait, a minnow with a tail of some kind. Uh, Matt, can you see that? Okay, with a
Very
tail
good.
and a belly. That belly profile, that's backwards on the camera.
Yeah,
But this is just a bait that I picked up at Crappie Fest. Just looks like a shad. I hook it through the side. Let me see if I can show you guys. And listen, number one, the Cyclops will work with any plastic. There's not a plastic that won't fit. I'll see how well you guys can see this. So that's how we've traditionally put our baits on. Hook it through the back, okay? The Cyclops is designed to hook through the side. Many fishermen still hook their plastics the way they always did. They want that eye down, and that eye gives a shine, gives a sparkle sometimes that really counts. I have a couple of baits here. The old snacky lure is amazing bait, good plastic. My good friend Jeff Smith at Crappie Magnet, guys, if I had a number one profile for a bait, it's that. What did I call? Well, this is
those
the
Rue. What size head
Roo.
is
That's a 16th on the Roo,
that? Pair is
and
perfect. It looks like
that
one piece. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like one seamless piece of
yes,
that looks.
absolutely. And this Roo falls. The uh, the deal is like we have crystal clear lakes here in Oklahoma, on Lake Ten Killer. Well, I've had black crappie from 25 feet away run at this thing because the Cyclops doesn't fall like a rock. It's when it hits the water, it's diving, and it is a wounded bait presentation. And I'll tell you, Matt, an accidental design that I did with this. This is a combat lure. I love that belly, extra strong. I have made it a point to really, really get along with all the plastic bait companies, guys. Uh, and I'll tell you, I cannot thank Jeff Smith enough for with Crappie Magnet. The very first show he saw me at, he helped the whole crappie community. Has it's like Jeff's like, I know this poor guy isn't a second or third generation bait maker. He has a great idea, and he came to me and he said, "Hey, I want to help you," and he really has. I can't say enough about Jeff Smith helping me. But an accidental design on this was found at Grand Lake. Now, when you hook that bait sideways, like I have, do you see how flat that profile is?
Yep.
This is a dock shooter's jig head right here. This jig head skips like a flat stone. You
Well,
can
and
get.
it's bullet pointed too. It's pointed
Yes,
like a
sir.
bullet.
That's
So when
right.
you do skip it, it's gonna zip
Yes.
through that water or skip across the top.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And uh, people like Cale Ward, Cale Cale likes the way the bullet design is when he's chasing fish, and it glides through the water better
Yeah.
than a. You got a phone call in there, didn't you?
I don't know. Something happened. I don't know
Okay.
what, but
It,
that's what I noticed is it's bullet pointed. I don't know if how much it cut off, but
yeah.
if you look it, and I'll hold it right to the camera there. But that one there, it's pointed like a actual bullet.
Yes.
So it's going to skip like you would be shooting a gun. That bullet
Yes,
is
sir.
going to skip across the water. Well, this jig is also, when you pull that back and shoot a
Mhm.
dock, also going to skip. Something I like about it that you haven't mentioned yet, you talked about the flatness. Oh, see it there?
Mhm.
The flatness and it not sinking like a traditional jig head. But what you didn't mention is it sinks like if you were standing on top of a house and dropped a piece of paper.
Yes.
A piece of paper, it does this down in that water. And you can watch it on forward facing sonar. You can watch this jig head. It's just like this, back and forth, because it's not going straight down. It's got a wobble to it.
Yes.
And you can see it on there. I mean, it's like pendulums.
That's
Nothing,
right.
because I cast to them. So I
Mhm.
cast, watch that bait go down, and I can just watch it like this on my screen. And so it's really cool to see, because never have I seen that, and I've had
Right.
scope for 7 years now. So it
Sure.
was, when I first seen it, I was like, "What the heck is it doing?" But that's why it's more flat than
Right.
traditional,
Right. And also I've taken the time. I told you that I really wanted to build a quality product, and that included there's no paint in the eyelets of any of my jigs. We just take a lot of pride. There's not a lot of jig heads that are made in America, and I thought, you know what? There's nothing worse than having to knock the paint out of an eyelet anytime. You're in a tournament, you're fishing against your uncle, whatever you're doing. So the Cyclops, the eyelets are clean, and we epoxy these eyes in every single one of them one at a time. So we take a lot of pride. We we've studied paint a little bit to try to get the best paint, the prettiest paint. I know the fish doesn't care how pretty the paint is, but you got to catch the fisherman before you catch the fish
right. That's right. So
in our selection.
absolutely. So the size ranges that you have for
Mhm.
crop. I know you have a bass line too, and we'll talk about that. But
Sure.
the crappie size ranges. What weights do you have? And
We
what?
have it. So I have the smallest one here. It is the 1/24th. Isn't that a bug and a half right there? Look at that. Oh
Here,
boy.
here's my 1/24th. That's how I have
Yeah.
it.
That's beautiful.
So,
That tail action is absolutely.
and then when that falls, that's what a crappie is seeing. That
That's
right
right.
down
That's
to it.
split tail.
So
Yeah. So we have the 24th, and the reason people say, well, why 24th? Well, I have a 3 millimeter eye in this thing, and that eye is protected. There's actually a ring of lead and a little indention in that jig head. I try that's the weakest link in the Cyclops jig head, is if that eye is going to come out. They don't very often. So I couldn't go with a 32nd and still have a lead collar to hold your plastic up on. So, but there's stuff in the works for some hair jigs coming up, and we will have a 132nd.
oh man.
In fact, I have one right here. It's actually got string tied to it,
Oh,
but we're working on that. So we have the 1/24th, the 16th, the 8th, and then we have a quarter ounce. They buy a lot of quarter ounce down in Texas. They the tournament fishermen that are chasing feeding fish,
right.
they like that bullet design. They'll tip it with a minnow. That's another great thing about the Cyclops. You can minnow fish with it. You can
Are they threading the minnow, or are they just tipping the through the lips, or through the? How are you seeing guys use it with it tipped with a minnow?
there's several different ways, threading it on, tipping it. I will even take a pair of scissors and cut the head off of the minnow and then thread him on there. And that
Okay.
way, when you look at it, like this
Oh,
one right here, you have a minnow with still the eye on it. And what you've done when you've done that is you've released amino acids and a little bit of blood, a little bit of,
okay.
and
Everything.
it's a smoker. I've done videos with them that, I mean, you only get one try because they
Yeah.
hit it. And that's another great thing, Matt, about the Cyclops. We're kind of going scientific on, just a little bit. Just we're going to dip off in the shallow end of it. But the crappie hit two different ways, Matt. They'll hit to kill the minnow or shad, or they'll hit to eat it. And the Cyclops is a wounded or dead bait presentation. A crappie will hit this to eat it. You've increased your hook sets, and the 1/24th size. I really really use it in the hard cold of winter, like it's 33, 34, 35 degree water. when they're very lethargic and they just barely nip at it.
Mm-hmm.
You want just enough weight to get your old bug down there, whatever bug you're using, and they'll just nip it. And all they have to do is get the tip of that hook in the top of their mouth, and it's over. Another way I like to use that 1/24th is after the shad spawn. I tell people that when the shad spawn, the crappie have spawned, it's the worst time in the world for a crappie after they've spawned.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of really readily available bait. When those shad spawn, they go nuts like we do at a Chinese buffet. Okay, they're all elbows. They all go, and after about our third plate, we slow down. Well, they slow down too. And when they're full, you present that bait and put it right on their nose. They may just barely nibble it. They're not going to eat it like that first piece of chicken at the buffet. You hear me? So that's when I use the 24th the most, is right after the shad spawn and in the cold of winter.
See, I noticed on my lake right after the shad kill, the wintertime shad kill,
Mhm.
I predominantly throw the 24th. And right after the shad kill, that bait, because it was sinking so slow down there to them, it was something different. It was something different that not everybody was using.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's the way it falls or if it's the way that you had said it's already a wounded or dead bait fish
Sure.
presentation, so they don't have to kill it or wound it. It's already
Mhm.
there, so they're striking it to eat it. But I don't. I would say 9 out of 10 were top lip hook sets.
That's right.
Have you noticed that as well?
Yes, sir.
It's right through the roof of the mouth, and they're not coming off unless your line breaks. I mean, there's no because to get them off. I mean, what I'm doing. I'm taking it like this, holding the fish by
Mhm.
the lip, and popping it with my hand to get it out. I mean,
Right.
there's no wiggling it or anything else because of that mustad hook. I don't know if I can. I mean, look at that barb on that dude.
Mhm.
You know, so there's no. I mean, it's not. Oh, I can wiggle it out, and I don't want to get pliers because I don't want to create a weak spot in the
Right.
hook. I'm weird about pliers, but so I'll take it up like this and just pop it on top, and it pushes that right out. But I've noticed, I would say 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, was top
Right.
right through the roof of the mouth hook set.
You
So
bet. You
pretty
bet.
cool.
And a lot of times that eyelid will be jammed up against the top of their mouth too, and they're hooked. It doesn't take a big hook to catch a nice big crappie. It really doesn't.
They're a booger to get off whenever they're like that because they inhale it, you know. So you've got 24th, and you showed the 16th,
Yes.
and you talked about the eighths, right? Did you
Huh?
talk about the eighth?
I mean, I just told you that we have them. I don't
Yep.
have any sitting here in front of me. Uh,
Here's you an eighth right here.
there you go.
That's with a slab magnet, a 3-inch slab
I
magnet on
love that profile too, brother.
so
That was
this,
one of the first profiles I ever threw.
that's a side profile, but that's what a fish sees because as everybody or most people listening know, crappie feed up. So when they feed up, that is exactly when those eyeballs sit on top of that head and they look up. That is exactly what they're seeing.
That's
Right
right.
there. They're not seeing it from this angle, right? They're seeing
Right.
it right here. When that
That's
bait
right.
comes down to them, that's what they're seeing. They're seeing that little eye look right at them. So,
And I'll tell you, I developed this as I noticed even the first year after I had Live Scope. I might have waited a year or so before it really came out, but I noticed the fish were. I really believe we were educating them to some point.
oh yeah,
And if you're in high pressured fishing situations, if uh, post front conditions, like, we had a heck of a cold front come across the nation here recently. Downsize, get you a Cyclops jig head on, show them something, put it right on their nose, because fronts and fishing pressure really matters, especially to a giant fish. Whether you're fishing against your uncle or your mom or fishing for money, you only have really one chance a lot of times at that big girl. And why not put something on her that counts? Now, I also have 7 colors of Cyclops. I had to stop at 7. We do have 2 colors that a lot of people don't have, a lot of bait makers. We have a silver, which I call the hammerhead. It's just it looks like a lead head. Very, very nice. Very nice finish on it. And boy, look at that eye. So that we have the hammerhead, and another color we have is a purple. It's a prismatic purple. And actually, that's the 8th right there of the prismatic purple. And that is on a 6 cents panorama style bait. You get that shad flopping in front of them. Oh my gosh, uh the panorama and this and a little daub of super glue.
Oh man.
Oh man.
So what I think is cool that you've showed, I mean, every one of the jig heads you've showed so far has had a different bait on it.
Yes.
And so it's not like, oh, you have to run it with this company's bait because it does the best with this or anything like that.
Right.
It works with them all.
Yes.
It will work with all the baits, whether it's a minnow profile, a split tail profile, whatever, right?
Yes, sir.
That's really cool.
It works on curly tails, twister tails. It works, believe it or not, even a little paddle tail. You know, a paddle tail is developed to swim like this. You hook a paddle tail sideways and it's popping and thumping and putting out a different vibration.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? They've never seen before. And uh, let me tell you about all the colors that we have. I mentioned the silver, the hammerhead, the purple, which is the AE, the Aubrey Elizabeth. I get to name jigs after my granddaughters.
Hey.
We have the chartreuse. We have the Hadley Grace in the pink. That pink is just a bubblegum pink. Beautiful, beautiful bait. We have the EF5, which is black. That's a little unique. It if I had one, people say, "What's your favorite?" Well, I'll tell you, my favorite is the hammerhead, the gray. But if I had to take one pack of jigs with me to fish any lake, any depth, any color water, it's the EF5. Total destruction. That's the EF5. That black it looks great in clear water, and in dirty water it shows up like, you just can't beat it.
I feel like that's a color that's slept on a lot.
Yeah.
Blackhead.
Mm-hmm. So we have 7. Oh, and we have white. We have the great white. So there's all 7 colors.
Nice, nice. And would you say that you have a top seller in your crappie lineup? What would, as far as color and size?
It's going to be the 16th chartreuse.
16th chartreuse.
It really is. It never ceases to amaze me. Like up in at the Kansas City shows,
Mm-hmm.
orange went. It was incredible how they like orange up in Kansas City. And then I just got back from Crappie Fest on Lake Fork. Orange was a big seller down there.
Huh. Okay.
So orange, when people like orange, they like, it's a great dirty water color. It confidence is your best lure. And people say, well, why is confidence my best lure? I said, because you're going to try harder with that lure that you have confidence in. Yep. So confidence is your best lure.
I agree. I've always been a pink. I've always just, whether dirty water, clear water, it doesn't matter. Yes. I predominantly will run pink. Now I've got some oranges and I've got some blacks, and I've got a few chartreuses, but pink is where it's at for me. And it's different people are different. Like my dad, he goes with me. He likes his chartreuse head, so that's why I keep some chartreuse heads. So it's kind of always funny to me to see like the people like different color heads, and it doesn't necessarily. Oh well, I fish dirty water, so I'm going to be running an orange head. It may be I'm fishing dirty water. I like a pink, and it's kind of always been kind of
Sure.
fascinating to me. But
Sure.
so
And pink is my change up color. I don't mind telling anybody if they nose up at that gray hammerhead a time or two, I'm going to throw the pink on. If the sun's shining, I'm going to put on a chartreuse, and that's the white like on 10 killer during our one of our tournaments last year. I was fishing. I had the live scope at 45 feet deep, and I had this rue on with a white head, and I was fishing for a couple of hours, and all of a sudden, I saw a fish come up the screen from 45 feet deep. Pushed the button on my screen and went to 50, and there were fish down there it was 50 feet deep in the first week of March last year in that crystal clear water. But that white, oh, it made me feel good. I don't know.
you
It's
see it.
what I did.
Oh, it's crazy at 50 foot deep that you've got to pull them up so slow too.
Yes, sir.
Blow 'em-
Yep.
blow their bubble out of their mouth.
Yes,
So
sir.
we've talked about your full crappie lineup,
Mm-hmm.
and what's really cool to me is it's very rare, but you've been in the industry now for a little bit, and you've probably not seen this much, where guys that make crappie baits also make bass baits. There's not
Mm-hmm.
a whole lot of companies that are cross doing you can catch bass on this or even walleye or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not very prevalent in the crappie fishing industry, but you have bass stuff too, correct?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's hit on this bass stuff.
And I do not have a bass jig with me. I went bass fishing yesterday and caught four of the prettiest smallmouth. There you go. Caught four of the prettiest smallmouth that, this time of year, our lake is really crystal clear. And I do the same thing. I was at that first show in Illinois three years ago, and the security guard said, "Hey, that is one heck of an idea. Make me a bass jig. I want to be the first person with the Cyclops bass jig." So I didn't, I didn't really, we've all bass fished. That's kind of what we did when we were kids. So I decided to design it with the Mustad 2X strong hook. And I did it in the 1/8 ounce, the 1/4 ounce, and the 3/8 ounce. And it has, it's really been a blessing. It's not just for bass, the hybrids, there's people in the rivers up in like Chicago up north using the big ones to go down and catch walleye.
Okay.
But the blessing was at the Bassmaster Classic a few weeks ago, I met some guides, a couple from Texas that fish in the ocean and one from California, and the guy from California was about my age. He said, "I've been guiding for 30 years." He said, "Let me see that jig head." And he picked up that 3/8 jig head and he said, "That is perfect." And I said, "You don't know how often I don't hear that, because bass fishermen, they've got to kind of,
Mhm.
maybe the keeper is wrong or the hook is a size too small or too big." But those guys bought some bulk bags from me, which I do offer bulk sales. You'll have to message me on Messenger. But they took several hundred of those jigs back to the ocean and sending back pictures.
That's cool.
And they have all the confidence in them. And I told that poor guy to put that paddle tail on sideways. And he said, "You're going to have to show me." And this is a guide. I
Yeah.
said, just just try it. And boy, he sent some pictures of some giant ocean trout
That's cool.
yesterday that they had caught. So we've also expanded the bass into an A rig. We have a 1/8 ounce A rig. It comes 5 in a package. I put 4 green eyes and 1 red eyed jig hook in there, and they have a 3/0 ultra point mustad hook in them. We also have a 1/4 ounce jig head that has a 6/0 ultra point mustad for the big flukes, the big, just the bigger 8, 9 inch baits. Um, I actually bought a 10-inch bait at the Classic and put it on there, and it was a Japanese bait that, it was crazy. And then we also offer a 3/16 screw lock. So these come with lead heads. You either get a red eye or a green eye. You either get the Rider series or the hammerhead. So
And that you have the screw lock in crappie too, correct?
yes, yes,
I don't
sir.
know. We did talk about that, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
that's kind of cool. What sets the screw lock apart from, say, a regular like the lead where you push it up in the leg keeper?
You bet. So, of all people, Cale Ward, he was my first pro staff, and of course, he won the Crappie Masters National Championship on the Cyclops Jig Head last year. And he said, Eric, some of these, and I'm just going to tell you what he said. He said, Eric, I'm fishing with Bobby Garland baits and they're a little soft, which we all know they are. I love Bobby Garland baits. Uh, threw one yesterday, threw two of them yesterday. Love them. I love the way that tail works. But he said, Eric, I'm having a hard time keeping them on after a couple of fish. Develop me a screw lock. So I did a 4-turn screw lock, which is it takes you'll tear up a bait or two before you figure it out, but your bait will not come off it. uh and it works with any bait too. It's if you don't like messing it, if you're not a bait changer every 30 minutes, you know what I mean, put your favorite bait on and fish with it. Dan Langston, actually, at the Crappie Fest, he said, Eric, I'm a dock pitcher. He said there's nothing worse than pitching a perfect pitch and you come back and your bait's drug down your tail, that drug down the hook. So he got some of these screw locks and he'll be shooting a few videos for me and showing me how it works and all that stuff. So
That's cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I've never really used the screw lock. I have for bass fishing,
Uh-huh.
but you don't see them a lot in the crappie industry. But
Right.
and of course I don't shoot a lot of docks either. But I can see where that would be a problem of guys. I mean, you're zipping that thing underneath there
Yes.
40
Yeah.
miles or more, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
some of these guys are slinging it. And so it's like, well, the more you do that once, you do it twice, you catch 4 or 5 fish, and then the eighth time you do it, I can see where that bait gets a little wore out and slides down. And they're like you said, there'd be nothing worse than making that perfect shot underneath underneath those pontoons, and
Yeah.
you back in, you're like, man, why did they not hit it? And you look at it, oh, well, that's why. But
Right.
that is cool. That is awesome.
Mhm.
So we covered colors, we covered sizes, man. What's on the block next for Cyclops?
Well, I'll tell you, the last show of the season was I got home at dark Sunday night. What's next is I'm going to get the old Vexus wet and try to relax. We got rain coming in,
We do
and I
too.
love to fish during the rain. Uh, we're gonna do a little bit of bass fishing. We've got a crappie tournament coming up. The Oklahoma Crappie Masters will be on my home lake in a couple weeks. As far as new products, I if I had something, I would let you. Well, I'll tell you what. We are going to work on some hair jigs.
Yeah.
I've waited 3 years to to get the right hair jigs out, and I have the molds. I have them poured. Hey, your hair fell off.
It did. It did. It's gone. You ain't using my hair for the hair jigs. I know that.
Next in line is some hair jigs. I have a couple of really good tires that have heavy D's and a guy named Justin Robinson.
Yeah.
We're gonna team up and put some good quality hair jigs on the market. That's what's next for Cyclops.
Awesome, man. And are you going to offer those in a range of sizes as well, or stick with just a few, or
Yes,
what's your plan there?
yes, sir. We're gonna have the 132nd, and you notice that our standard one is the 124th. So we don't have the collar on it. So now we can make that head just a bit bigger and put that 3 millimeter eye in it. And so we will have a 1/32
Okay.
hair jig, a 16th, and an eighth to start out with.
Nice.
So
Nice.
and we've got some pretty. We're gonna do some boxes up like this for maybe mom wants to stuff a stocking, uh, you know, anything. There's people that just like to buy boxes. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna have different variety boxes. We'll have them on the website, and that's what's next for Cyclops. Oh,
Awesome.
and we have a merchandise. We have a merchandise uh, website to where I don't have to buy 100 hats and 50 jerseys and 25 hoodies to either resell or give away. We have a merchandise website. You can design uh, the color shirt. We have several different t-shirts, hoodies, hats, 5 or 6 or 8 different kinds of hats. We have beanies, coffee mugs of all kinds, towels,
That's cool.
bags. Yeah, we have bags, backpacks. In fact, I'm going to meet with them as soon as it rains, and we're going to add a few other things. We have koozies, so it's exciting to have someone that stepped up like that, because we're honestly we're counting pennies in the bait business, in the bait making business. It's if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. But none of these guys that have these small bait companies really have the money to give away a $40 hoodie or a $25 hat.
That's right.
It's the margin is tight in the bait business. So
Well, and you rely a lot on the successfulness of the jigs from anglers, and then when Matt Foster goes out and catches a limit of crappie on your using your Cyclops jig, I tell two people at the boat ramp, hey, well, when they say, did you get a limit? Did you get, when they say, because it's inevitable, did you
yeah,
catch everything out there? I said,
yeah,
well, I caught my 15 or whatever it is, and
yeah,
what'd you catch on? And I can show them, hey, this is what I caught them on.
yes,
That's what bait, like you said, small business bait makers rely heavily on, and they're you don't ever know. Well, hey, Matt talked to 4 people at the ramp, and then these guys purchased your stuff, or whatever.
right.
It's no, but you see it on the back end later, and
But
that's one of the things. Like I don't care to tell people. Last time I was at the lake, I'd caught my limit of fish, and when I got to the ramp, a guy was backing in, and the same thing. Did you catch them all? Did you leave me any? Is what he said. I said, well, I
right,
did, and I showed him exactly where I was catching them, and I gave him 2 jig heads. I had two
right,
jig heads. I gave him, and I gave him the exact bodies I was using. I said, there you go. I said, and I dropped a pin for him, and I said, what's the number? And I texted to him. I said, there you go catch some fish. And then
right.
as I was pulling out and wiping my boat down, there's we call it like a handicap pier or a fishing pier that goes kind of out in the lake, maybe 40 foot. There was a dad and his 4 kids out there fishing off of it. I was like, yep. So
There
I
you
walked out there and I give them some. I was like, hey, try some of these baits out here. But it's just that's what you rely heavily on is word of mouth and
yes, sir,
from successful anglers. So,
sir.
but if there's anybody listening that has a local bait shop or maybe they want to buy baits, right? So let's start with that. If somebody listening, they want to buy some Cyclops jig heads to try out for themselves, where can they go to do that?
They can go to cyclopsjigheads.com. We fill orders every single morning and get them out. We don't play with when it's time for people to have a Cyclops. We get it in the mail.
Awesome. So then say, hey, I want some, but I also want some stocked in my area, right? There's a local
Yes.
bait shop or there's a hardware store that may be down the road. They've got a couple fishing rods, they've got some bobbers, things like that, or a gas
Mhm.
station. I want this gas station, whatever the case may be, right? Do you have can somebody contact you for wholesale orders? How does that? Do you have a spot for retail? How does that work?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Is the fisherman goes into his store and says, "Hey, we're catching them on these. It's a quality bait, and you can messenger me. My phone number is just about everywhere. If you call me, I love to hear a good fish story, and I love to put these in bait companies, my or bait shops. My daughter uh, has the wholesale form, sends it immediately. I had several people at Crappie Fest, several different businesses walk up before they left. Their email, all I need is their email address, and it's coming to them, and all they have to do is order then. So
Is there a minimum order, or how does that
nope,
work? Or just,
nope,
hey, we can get 15,
nope.
20, whatever. Okay,
Yeah,
that's all.
yeah.
That's all. Oh, that's really cool, man. Well, Eric, I do appreciate you. Got anything else for anybody listening?
I just want to tell you, Matt, thank you for having me on, and God bless you and bless your family and everything you do, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for coming on, guys. Check out Cyclops Jigs. Man, really cool product. So,
Right
thank
on, lean on 'em.
yeah, that's right. Hey, thank you again, man.